Brother lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to brand new video. This is the Arsenal Total Access Show coming to you every single day in the evening, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Every single day, 9 p.m. to 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. You should be watching the Arsenal Total Access Show. Of course, with me, Cossy, I'm going to be diving into a couple of stories for Arsenal this evening. Midfielders are becoming midfielders when it comes to being linked to Arsenal. Part one, we're going to be discussing Martin Zubimendi and Moises Caicedo. It looks like Arsenal are more focused on Martin Zubimendi now rather than Moises Caicedo, who has signed a new deal with with Brighton. We'll be talking about Arsenal's rest to McAllister and Gabriel Viega in part two, and DECLAN Rice as well is one of the players that we are trying to sign in the summer. Tielemans is still on the list. Actually, I've seen a few people asking me whether Arsenal will not sign Tielemans. He's still on the list, and there is a high possibility that come this summer, Arsenal will go back and try to sign Tielemans as well. So that and more is going to be discussed in the on the show. Hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well. We're going to be talking about much of your midfield updates and more of what's going to happen in the summer when it comes to spending. I also have a question for you right pinned up in the chat. If you've already seen it, should Arsenal sign Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad, or should we go for Moises Caicedo, the player we tried to sign in January, but has now signed a long-term contract with Brighton? Let me know in the comment box below. Get involved. Send me those shout-outs from where you are watching from. And, of course, I would love to get your thoughts and opinions in the comment box. This is the Arsenal Total Access Show. It will be coming your way every single day, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. every single evening. How are you doing? If you're coming back from work, how is work actually? How was your day? Let me know in the comment box below. Did you have a great day? Did you have a great evening? Are you having a great evening? And of course, if your day was not that good, sorry about that. It could get better with the Arsenal Total Access Show, right? Let's dive into it. Now, first and foremost, reports in Spain are saying that Arsenal are still very much interested. I'm still very much interested in signing Martin Zubimendi right from Real Sociedad. Now, these are two players that we tried to sign in January. Moises Caicedo as a defensive midfielder and Martin Zubimendi as a defensive midfielder as well. However, Arsenal thought Martin Zubimendi was the better deal to do. We did go in there to sign him. The problem was that eventually Arsenal failed to get the deal over the line because the player decided to stay in Spain. All right, his release clause is around 65 million pounds. That's quite a very, very good deal if you're thinking about signing a defensive midfielder. That's a very good deal in my opinion. So Arsenal are thinking, if we could get Martin Zubimendi over the line, we could get that deal. If we could get that deal over the line in the summer, we would have a very good replacement of Thomas Partey, but also someone who backs up Thomas Partey, given the amount of games we're going to be playing starting next campaign. Now, the other story is that Martin Zubimendi will be a priority for Arsenal over Moises Caicedo. Caicedo is a player that is really admired by Edu and Mikel Arteta, but because he signed a new deal with Brighton, it seems the deal will be extremely expensive, and it might not actually happen in the coming summer. So Zubimendi would love the move. Moises Caicedo would also love the move. Who should Arsenal sign? That is the question I'm posing for you right in the comment box below. Let's see what you people say. You can also hit the chat by letting me know which player is the better one for Arsenal and for you and our system. And you can also get involved in the chat. Don't forget, I will be opening the lines. I will be opening up the calls. You can call in and have your say any time from now. Right, so let's get into it. The priority being Martin Zubimendi. I am not shocked. I'm not surprised. I think Martin Zubimendi is a player that Mikel Arteta talked about since joining Arsenal. He's one of those players that we've always looked at. He hasn't met the quite the impression in the media, like the likes of Houssem Aouar, the likes of Thomas Partey before signing, like the likes of James Maddison. He's not one of those players that have been talked much about, but he's one of those players that I really think if Arsenal signed, he would be revolutionary. Now, he reminds me, and I would compare him to Rodri at Manchester City, maybe Sergio Busquets at Barcelona as well. His playing style is very, very similar to Sergio Busquets. Doesn't run a lot. That is number one. And it doesn't have that physicality that the players like Moises Caicedo and Thomas Partey have. And maybe that is one of the weaknesses. We'll talk about Zubimendi. But his game is built in a way that he intercepts play a lot. He breaks up play a lot with interceptions rather than physicality, and also rather than running down up and down the pitch. His game is more about positioning. Is a player that I've looked at Real Sociedad, and I'm like, this guy is good. This boy is good. If Arsenal could get him, it would be a massive sign. It would be a very, very good signing. Probably not better than Moises Caicedo. I'm going to explain myself here. Maybe not better than Moises Caicedo, because Caicedo comes with Premier League experience. Caicedo comes with a lot more than Zubimendi. Many Arsenal fans know Moises Caicedo. Not many Arsenal fans know Martin Zubimendi and all that. But I think Zubimendi signing for Arsenal would be a very, very good deal. Now, we are also hearing that he has a release clause that Arsenal trying to trigger in January, and that release clause is actually £65 million. That's a bargain, in my opinion. Now, this is a player who is only around 23, 24, Spanish international. He should be playing in that Spanish side in the next tournament. That should be the Euros. He should be playing in the next tournament for Spain. I think he's the next Sergio Busquets for Spain. He's the next maybe Koke. I think it's better than Koke, in my opinion. It's already better than Koke when it comes to playing at that level that you want him to. Now, in terms of competition, Arsenal will not be alone in tracking Martin Zubimendi. Barcelona are the other club that are really interested in signing him. And there is no shock for me here. There is nothing like, I think I expected this. For a player like Martin Zubimendi, for a player like him and his quality, a player who is very similar to Sergio Busquets, I thought Bakayoko Ori is going to come and give us company. I thought Bakayoko Ori is going to come and stretch us, maybe provide competition and do all those things. And the big question is, will Martin Zubimendi choose Arsenal over Barcelona? Will he go, I want a new experience, I want a new challenge away from the Spanish La Liga? Or will he go, I want to play for one of the greatest clubs in Spain? Because most of the Spanish footballers, and many of them, literally their dream is to play for either Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, or Barcelona. That is their dream. That is the peak of their powers. If you listen to footballers like Cesc Fabregas, they'll tell you, I love Arsenal, and I really, really loved Arsenal. But when it comes to Barcelona, when it comes to Real Madrid, when it comes to Atletico Madrid, it's always a dream for them to go back and play football there. And I really don't blame them. And I think it's a very, very interesting, fact about their loyalty to the clubs and everything they and everything there is to there is to resonate with those clubs, right? So Martin Zubimendi, priority for Arsenal in defensive midfield. I think Arsenal are doing very smart business here. If we go for a defensive midfielder, that's one position that we can't go out of that summer without fulfilling. Listen, we've talked about a Thomas Partey replacement for now, I think 3 straight windows. We talked about it in the 2021-2022 summer. We talked about it in 2021 summer, the 2022 summer, and we talked about it in January 2022 and January 2023. We thought we were going to sign Danilo. That didn't happen. We thought Arsenal would go and, of course, we did sign Albert Samuel Lokonga, who, according to my sources, I'm not saying I'm in the know, but I'm saying according to the sources I've been looking at, Albert Samuel Lokonga could be one of those players that will leave Arsenal in the summer, either on a loan deal or even on a permanent, right? So Arsenal are looking to replace Albert Samuel Lokonga with someone who is better suited for that position to back up Thomas Partey. Now, Moises Caicedo, according to Fabrizio Romano, we've talked about this on the channel before, Caicedo is not going to be off the market in the summer. Yes, he signed a new deal with Brighton, which actually sees him getting a lot of money than what he was actually getting. But this doesn't mean he's off the market. This means that Brighton only did this to make sure that they have a very strong position in negotiations. And I think this was very, very bright from Brighton. This was very, very good from Brighton, But this was also a very bad move from Moises Caicedo. And this is why I didn't understand it. Moises Caicedo in January was pushing for a move out of Brighton to join another club. And the incentive, the main incentive behind that move was he wants to be a Rico transfer for Ecuador, which I think doesn't really benefit him. It benefits Brighton, but it doesn't benefit him as a player. But the real motive of him trying to get a move away from Brighton was he wants to go to a club like Arsenal and, earn some good money, which he clearly put out in his tweets. Actually, I think Instagram post. He said, I come from a family of 11 siblings with a mother that is struggling. Why don't you let me go to a club like Arsenal that are going to give me more money? And either way, we will all be, lucky and satisfied. I really understood that. Brighton then decided to give him a new deal. What I don't understand by Caicedo and his representatives is, if you want a move in January, and the next transfer window is 5 months away, why don't you wait until tell your agent, tell your player, tell your client to play the best football there is, to play at the peak of his powers, and then in the end, when it comes to the summer, Brighton can get a lot of money. For me, even if he didn't sign a new deal, Brighton would still get over 85 million in Moises Caicedo, and then he could talk to any club that he wanted, because he knew Brighton were desperate to get the money in the bank. He would talk to Arsenal, he would talk to Chelsea, he would talk to Man United, he would talk to any other club literally that are in search of a defensive midfielder. Actually, if I were the agent of Moises Caicedo, right now I would be calling Arsenal, I would be calling Liverpool, and I'll be telling them, listen, I have the best defensive midfielder, under 20, under 23, best defensive midfielder in the Premier League. And I'm looking at both of your projects, and I'm saying, Arsenal, you want to go 6 years as giants. Liverpool, you're trying to rebuild yourselves. You're trying to become this kind of club that are rebuilding themselves. You're trying to get back to glory days. How about signing Moises Caicedo for 75 million? Give my client £100 per week, and everything will be sorted. So I did understand Moises Caicedo and his entourage signing a new deal. Of course, I did understand it from a Brighton perspective. What I did understand is the Moises Caicedo perspective. But between these two players, guys, who should we sign? Is it Martin Zubimendi? Is it Moises Caicedo? These are the advantages that come with signing each of them. Martin Zubimendi is a cheaper deal, release clause up to £65 million that could be negotiable. Listen, it could be negotiable, and I'm not saying it's going to be purely negotiable, because there are going to be so many clubs interested. There will be so many clubs interested in Martin Zubimendi. I'm telling you, if you've not watched Real Sociedad, get some time, watch them in the UEFA Europa League before they're dumped out by Roma. You will understand what I'm talking about. Okay, if you've watched them against Manchester United in the Europa League, or against Barcelona or Real Madrid, you will understand what I'm talking about. So Martin Zubimendi, the price could be a little bit cheaper, around 50-55. I think if you are going to negotiate your way around the price, it could be around 55. That is one advantage. But then you're also getting a player, in my opinion, that would suit Mikel Arteta. One thing I've seen with Mikel is that he signs his players particularly. He signs particular players. He doesn't go, we want a number 6, so we'll try to sign anyone in the market. Doesn't do that. He looks at the market and says, Zubimendi, Caicedo, Rice, and anyone, okay? And that's one of the things I really love about him. So he has always said Martin Zubimendi is a player that he loves. So I think Zubimendi, with his playing style, good in possession, comfortable in possession. He's not a player that's going to rush to pass the ball. He always finds the right pass. He's intelligent on the ball as well, and his positioning in midfield to win back the ball, to win back possession and do interceptions is also top class. That is Martin Zubimendi. Moises Caicedo brings physicality. Moises Caicedo brings Premier League experience. And we've talked about it when we discussed players like Trossard and Mikhail Modric. We've discussed players like Ruben Neves and a couple of other players like Ausam Owa. And you people have actually told me that the peak, the epitome of a good signing should have Premier League experience. And I cannot disagree. I think Moises Caicedo deserves a lot of credit. He's come from wherever he's actually come from a £3 million signing, comes into Brighton, replaces their main player in midfield in Yavis Bissouma. And actually, you've got to also think and remember that it comes into this midfield and boom, Bissouma goes, and then boom, Enoch Mwepu also retires from football. It's not the best of news, right? But you understand what I'm talking about. I'm trying to talk about here. So for me, Caicedo is a player that every Arsenal fan would love, and I know according to the poll, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at it there, and most of you are saying it should be Moises Caicedo. Probably because you don't know Martin Zubimendi very well, but then also the Premier League experience and also the ability of Moises Caicedo on the ball is something that, it's unprecedented. Arsenal have got to think about that. So that is it in terms of a Thomas Partey replacement. I'm really happy that Arsenal have already started doing groundwork on all these deals. I'm really happy that we've started, looking at a potential Thomas Partey backup, right? Because we are not going to be as lucky as we have been this season or last campaign. Actually, last campaign, we were unlucky because if Thomas Partey didn't pick up those injuries, maybe, we could have made it to the UEFA Champions League. It's only hypothetical still. But why I love, a Thomas Partey backup and why it shouldn't be DECLAN Rice, in my opinion, I think Arsenal have the potential to win the Champions League in the next 3 years. We have the potential to win the Champions League in the next 3 years. I think City, you look at their team, they're getting disintegrated at the moment. Bernardo Silva will leave. Ike Gundogan will leave. Kevin De Bruyne is 31. Ederson will leave eventually. I think their centre back line is also aging. You got Kyle Walker, who is actually aging, right? So you think about all those, you factor into those, and then you look at clubs like Bayern, who are actually struggling this season. You look at clubs like Barcelona and Madrid. I think by the time every team reorganizes themselves, Arsenal could have won the UEFA Champions League. There is a massive opportunity that any good club can win the UEFA Champions League this season, next season, and the season after that. After that, it's going to be way more competitive, all right? And that's why I think Arsenal need to get in a defensive midfielder just to make sure that when Partey is out, we have the cover. I want your thoughts. I want to get into your reactions about this story, about those two, Moises Caicedo and, of course, Moises Caicedo and Martin Zubimendi. I want to get your thoughts there. David says, I prefer even Mitoma. I think Mitoma is a good player, but I don't think Arsenal will be moving for Mitoma in the summer. That is not one of the things I think that will happen, but he's a very, very good player if Arsenal decided to go for him. And then David says, I prefer DECLAN Rice and Moises Caicedo. Brick says, is the cameraman standing on a Sepp Blatter? Oh, not really. I know what's happening. I really know. Truguna says, hi, how are you? Hope you're doing very well, Truguna. Jem says, very impressive, Cossy. We love you. Thank you so much. Arubaku says, I prefer DECLAN Rice to Moises Caicedo. And then Nabutiti says, Jamima loves. Okay. Andrew says, hi, Cossy. And it's Andrew from London. Arsenal should sign Rice, a winger and a striker in the summer. Joe says, thanks so much, bro, for the updates. Junior says, hi, Cossy. It's Chris from Uganda. I prefer DECLAN Rice. Now, this one thing I'm going to say, right? I think DECLAN Rice signing for Arsenal does not change our plans for a defensive midfielder. And particularly, this is what I don't understand, right? If we're signing DECLAN Rice, and we're signing another midfielder, right? For example, DECLAN Rice and Moises Caicedo. Does that mean that we will eventually make Declan Rice a box-to-box midfielder, because many of the articles I'm reading recently are actually showing me that it looks like it looks like Declan Rice is trying to transition from a single pivot to a box to box. I don't have a problem with that. I really, really don't. But I'll prefer him as a defensive midfielder. I'll prefer him as a single pivot. Why? Because I think he's got a lot in his locker as a defensive midfielder than as an attacking player. That's what, that is actually what I think. But if he wants to play as a box to box, and Mikel Arteta thinks that he can play as a box to box, then I wouldn't really have any questions. To be honest, I wouldn't really have any questions. Okay, I wouldn't really have any questions with that. All right, so that is it from the defensive midfield and what Arsenal are planning to do. This is the Arsenal Total Access Show. It will be coming your way every single day, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Make sure you're always watching. You subscribe, you turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss this show. And the Arsenal Morning Drive coming your way every day at 11 a.m. to noon. All right. So make sure you're also watching that. The Arsenal Morning Drive, 11 a.m. to the afternoon. Now, the second story and the second part involves, again, another player that Arsenal have been talking about always, and that is Alexis McAllister. But before we get into that, Arsenal have an admiration for Jude Bellingham. I want us to discuss this one because it's one where I've always talked about Jude Bellingham as one of the top quality players that I think Arsenal should have signed maybe when we had the chance to sign him before he went to Borussia Dortmund. Okay, that was that 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago? Arsenal had a chance to sign Jude Bellingham. I think it was around 25 or 30 million euros, right? That is what that's what Dortmund actually signed him for from what, Birmingham City, and now they are asking for in excess of 100 million. Actually, for in excess of 150 million. And what is surprising is that clubs are going to pay this amount of money. Clubs will pay this amount of money. Liverpool leading the rest there. Manchester City not going away. Manchester United are also discussing internally whether they will have the budget to sign him in the summer, right? So let's talk about Jude Bellingham for a minute. The story comes in from David Onstein. The Arsenal are admirers, big admirers of Jude Bellingham. Internally, they have talked about him. Internally, they've discussed the possibility of signing him. And it is also believed that Arsenal want a central midfielder. What a time. What a time. Borussia Dortmund have come out and said that they don't have any doubt that Jude Bellingham wants to leave. And they are also understanding that there are a couple of clubs around Europe that are monitoring his situation, including Real Madrid, Manchester City, Liverpool, and Manchester United, plus Chelsea. Of course, Chelsea are always there. They're trying to buy everyone in the market, okay? Would I want Jude Bellingham to come at Arsenal? Would I take Jude Bellingham at Arsenal? I think this is a deal I would ask Arsenal to do every single day of the week. It's one of the best deals that are going to happen in the summer. It's one of the best deals that are going to happen, and he will not flop. Wherever he goes, whether he goes to Real Madrid, whether he goes to Liverpool, whether he goes to Manchester City, Jude Bellingham will not flop. Now, why I like Jude Bellingham and why I think he's a much better player than all the players we've been linked with, McAllister, Yuri Tielemans, I think the other one is Gabriel Viega in there as well, and a couple of others. Why I think he's a much better player than all those. One, he's young. He's turning 20. He's turning 20 or 21. So he's one of those players that are hitting the levels very, very highly. The likes of Pedri, the likes of Gavi, the likes of Jamal Musiala. He's in that bracket. And if he's marketed very well, wherever he goes, Jude Bellingham could be a Ballon d'Or winner. Okay, but why I would like Arsenal to sign him is just imagine having Jude Bellingham and Martin Odegaard in the same team. Just imagine having those two in the same team. Behind them is maybe Moises Caicedo, maybe is Thomas Partey, maybe it's it's Martin Zubimendi, whoever Arsenal will decide to, to go with, right, in that defensive midfield. It's one of those. He's one of those players that would massively elevate our midfield. He's one of those players that would take any midfield right now from crazy levels to crazy levels. And that's why I think Arsenal should try to sign him. That's why I think we should try to go and do that deal. Okay, we've been told that Arsenal have the money, especially with our potential Champions League revenue coming in, and also through the sale of a couple of players. I think Nuno Tavares could leave. Albert Sambi could leave. If we are going to sell any three players in this team, Tierney for 40 million, Lokonga for 30 million, and Nuno Tavares for 30 million, that's 100 million. I would be happy for Arsenal to splash 150 million for Jude Bellingham. I think it's sensational. I think it's very, very good. I think he's one of those players that Arsenal would love to get and would never get. Okay, just think about Pedri. I look up at Pedri every single day, and I'm like, if Arsenal could sign Pedri on any day, Pedri, I'll take him. Even if it's 200 million, I would sign Pedri, because our playing style depends on good midfielders. Our playing style depends on how good our players in midfield are. And Jude Bellingham is going to be a sensation. He already is a sensational player, but mark my words, Jude Bellingham is going to be a sensation. Okay, so would you take him at Arsenal at 150 million? For me, it's a no-brainer. Any team that has good finances, and that includes Arsenal, I don't want to hear the stories that Arsenal don't have the money. Splash the cash, right? I would be okay with us signing him and not signing any other midfielder. Forget Rice, forget McAllister, forget all these other players. Get Jude Bellingham. Takes you to world-class level. He's gonna be here for the next 8 years. I think he's so compatible with Martin Odegaard, and he plays very beautiful football as well. And it's one of those players that can actually be trusted. We've already talked about players that can be trusted. We've already said that some players like Xhaka, you can trust him. Odegaard, you can trust him. That when he's in possession, he's not going to give the ball away recklessly. And when he gives the ball away, he's going to hand for it. That is Jude Bellingham. So the story coming in from The Athletic, of course, David Onstein says that Arsenal have discussed Jude Bellingham internally, and they would love to sign him. But the price is going to be a very huge let-off. The price is going to be a very huge factor as to why Arsenal don't jump into there. Look, I understand our budget. I think I'm one of those fans that understand Arsenal's budget. I'm one of those fans that know that our budget has never been that huge. Our budget has never been that 400 million a summer or 500 million in a summer, right? We're not Chelsea. We have not been taken over. We are not Manchester United. We're not the biggest club in the world. We're not Real Madrid. And we are not all these spending powers, okay? And our transfer strategy actually does not allow Arsenal to go, spending 400 million, 150 million on one player. But if we were willing to go as much as and as high as 90 million for a Mikhailo Modric, who is not even proven anywhere, a player who has only had 2 caps for Ukraine international team, how about giving it a try? Like, can we just go and throw it in there? Just throw 100 million on the table for Borussia Dortmund and tell them, take our offer, right? At the end of the day, I think this is a deal that's going to depend on, one, the highest bidder. If Madrid walk in with 180 million, they would sign him. If Barca walk in with 190 million, they'll sign him, right? So the highest bidder will sign Jude Bellingham. I don't want to hear all this crap of Liverpool are favorites, Madrid are favorites. There's no favorites in this deal. There is no one who's favorites. Arsenal can go in there, establish themselves as a potential candidate to sign him, and we could be lucky, right? Not every player that we've signed over the years has always seen Arsenal as the best club. Like, we signed Mesut Ozil. No one thought that we would ever sign Mesut Ozil. Like, no one ever thought about that. But we signed Mesut Ozil from Real Madrid. I don't care what the conditions were. I don't care whether his relationship was actually falling out. We signed him. We signed Mesut Ozil from Real Madrid. And that's what I'm talking about. Jude Bellingham, for me, is that Mesut Ozil signing, that world-class signing, that game changer, that level raiser as a signing, okay? I would really, really love him. But the big story today actually says that Arsenal are the most serious club in this race to sign Alexis McAllister. Now, we've talked about McAllister before. He's a wonderful player. Brighton have already resigned to the idea of losing him in the summer, and they're asking between 70 to 80 million pounds. Okay, Arsenal are the most serious. It looks like Alex McAllister is in contention, is actually higher up the list when it comes to joining Arsenal rather than Yuri Tielemans. He's above Yuri Tielemans in signing for us. Now, I want your thoughts on Jude Bellingham before we get into this one, right? But Alexis McAllister, is he a sensational player? Is he a sensational football player? Or are we signing another Granit Xhaka, but slightly better, right? I want your thoughts. Is McAllister a sensational footballer? Or are we signing a Granit Xhaka who's just slightly better? I want your thoughts there. I want your opinions as well. Okay, in the comment box below. Let's see what you people are saying. And it says, I would love Arsenal to sign Jude Bellingham, but it says, but it is not realistic. I would be really, really happy. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Is Jude Bellingham to Arsenal not realistic, or Arsenal have just gone, we can't sign him? I think that those are two very different options there. Is it not realistic, or Arsenal have gone, we cannot sign him? For me, it is actually very, very possible to sign Jude Bellingham. It's the price, isn't it? But if we're offering 100 million euros, close to 100 million euros for Mikhailo Modric, it means we have the money, right? It really, really means we have the money. Anu says McAllister is not a world-class player. Innocent says, hi, Cossy. This is Innocent from UG. I just want to upload you for the wonderful analysis. Thanks. Thank you so much. Olise Gabriel says Olise is very laid back and at times lazy. Olise. I don't like Michael Olise personally. I don't rate Michael Olise like many of the Arsenal fans do. I don't really rate Michael Olise. Daniel says, hi, Cossy. I would like Olise at Arsenal. Right. We'll talk about maybe Olise some other time on the show. But I don't rate Michael Olise. I really, really don't. Mogisha says, Cossy, I'm from Mogisha from Fort Porto. I would like Arsenal to get both Rice and Moises Caicedo. Well done, Cossy. Keep it up. Keep it up. That's Anu. Thank you so much, Anu. My man. Hope you're doing very well. Frank says, hi, Cossy. For me, anyone from them will be fine for us. Arsenal, both players are good, and big up for the updates always, Cossy. Thank you so much, Michael, Frank. I appreciate that. Emeka says, Cossy, I prefer Caicedo to DECLAN Rice. I've seen that comment so many times, actually. I've seen that comment so many times. Many people prefer Moises Caicedo to DECLAN Rice. James says, Zambia is very proud of you. Cossy, we need you to join Edu as soon as you can. Doing very well. Thank you so much, James. Emeka says, Emeka Abba, listening from Benin Republic. All right, thank you so much. Isaiah says, I prefer Caicedo because all the other players, all the players we get from Brighton are performing well. He could do better than the overrated English DECLAN Rice. Eric says, I love Caicedo and also needs Xhaka replacement. And Abuonya says, Cossy, I love Zubimendi. I think we've got one player, we've got one person in the chat that loves Martin Zubimendi. But I'm going to tell you this, right? Jude Bellingham and Martin Zubimendi, over the next 3 years, wherever they will be playing, watch them closely, all right? Watch them very, very closely. So we were talking about Alexis McAllister. Arsenal are the most serious club when it comes to signing Alexis McAllister. Now, this is what I want to say, right? This is what I really, really want to say. McAllister is not a world-class player. Like all these people are actually writing and labeling him World Cup winner with Messi, yes. Best Brighton midfielder, no. Actually, I think the best Brighton midfielder right now is not Alex McAllister, but is he one of the best performing midfielders in the Premier League at Brighton? I would definitely say yes. I think he's really, really doing very well, at Brighton. Now, Brighton coming out and saying they want 70 million for Alexis McAllister. That's a turn-off for me. That's a pure turn-off. I don't think they will keep him after winning the World Cup and displaying very, very good standards at the World Cup. Brighton will struggle to keep Alexis McAllister. And the names that are being mentioned, right? The names that are being mentioned alongside the signature of Alex McAllister are actually very huge names. We're talking about Manchester City, we're talking about Arsenal, and we're talking about Manchester United as well. And all these clubs will desperately need the services of Alexis McAllister. We've just talked about a Xhaka replacement, a player to back him up, a player to maybe raise the levels, and we're going to talk about the advantages for me of McAllister, of a player like Granit Xhaka. So I think McAllister will look at himself. He's 26, 27 already. He will go, this is the massive opportunity I have to sign for a big club. This is the chance I have to sign for a club like maybe Arsenal, maybe Manchester City. Just a minute, I'm having some kind of reverb. Yeah, you're fine. So I think the summer is going to be a massive opportunity, a very huge opportunity for Alex McAllister. It's gonna be one of those summers where you either make the move or you don't make the move forever, right? It's never gonna happen twice. It's a massive opportunity for him. It's a time where he can, he has added a World Cup to his CV. He's added a good season to his CV as well, and there is no other reason as to why he should go, I'll wait for another season to sign for another big club. This is the time to make that big club, that big move. This is the time. Remember Houssem Aouar? Houssem Aouar had a very good season with Lyon and they went for Champions League. And we all said, this is the time for you to make that move. This is the time for you to go bold. You know what happened? He hesitated, took a season, took another one, and now, according to what I'm hearing, he will be signed for entering Frankfurt in Germany. From Lyon to entering Frankfurt, I think the levels have dropped. So that's what's gonna happen with McAllister. He either walks this summer or he becomes a long-time boy at Brighton, and I'm very, very sure he doesn't want to do that because he's got a very, very big career ahead of him, right? So listen. Should we pay 70 million for McAllister? No, purely no, right? A World Cup that has been won by Enzo Fernandez, Messi, McAllister, Di Maria. That doesn't mean that the player won it alone. It was won by a team, right? It's not a Messi World Cup. It's not a McAllister World Cup. It's a group, right? It's a group. Lionel Scaloni, the manager, with his group of players, won the World Cup. So I don't want anyone to go, yeah, he's a World Cup winner, so we should sign him for 70 million. That is overrating him. In my opinion, Brighton should be calm, lay low like an envelope, and collect around 40 to 45 million from McAllister. That is the price. Come on, guys, right? That is the price for McAllister. That is the price. I don't think I don't think he's more than that. Unless I'm wrong, I could be wrong about this one, but I don't think he's actually more than 40, 45 million, right? I don't think he is. He scores goals, and that's one of the advantages we'll talk about. He's very creative, hardworking. He's a beast, a monster with a monster mentality. Brilliant. That's what Arsenal need, but it doesn't take him above 50 million, right? Because for 50 million, Arsenal could go and sign so many good players in that position to just replace Granit Xhaka. Let's talk about some of the options we could talk about. We could go to Bayern and sign Brian Gravenberch because he's not played any football. We don't know whether he's even going to play, football, right? So we could go and offer Brian Gravenberch a way out of Bayern for 50 million. Gravenberch is was one of my key players I talked about in the summer as one of the very, very best in the game. He was playing at Ajax last season under Erik ten Hag. That is option number one. Option number two, Arsenal could get 50 million and slowly walk into Wolverhampton Wanderers and sign their captain Ruben Neves, who I think is actually a much better player when you play him a little bit forward, because he's got those defensive abilities. His ball distribution is also late. He doesn't run a lot, of course, but he's got a shot in his locker, a free kick in his locker, and his passing is also levels, right? So we could do that as well. I think Arsenal could go and sign Florian Wirtz. Maybe Florian Wirtz is not 50 million, but for 70, 80 million, I would go and sign Florian Wirtz at Bayer Leverkusen. Beautiful, brilliant player. We are talking about players like Julian Brandt at Borussia Dortmund. All those options are available. All those players are actually there, and I've not talked about all the proliferation of talent that is booming at Napoli. I've not talked about all those guys. They're actually there and they're waiting to be signed. So for me, McAllister, Premier League experience, creative, scores goals, brilliant player, has a character, World Cup winner. That is it. Come on, guys. That is it. That is 50 million, right? That is 50 million, in my opinion. But I would take him at Arsenal. I've already said that I love him. I love the way he treats himself on the ball, the way he takes penalties, the leadership, the maturity. And he's one of those players that are just down to earth, but their productivity, oh my God, it is massive. Pure massive. So how much would we be willing to splash on McAllister? For me, 45 to 50, right? 40, 45 to 50. If Brighton are in there, if they're in that range, get it done. Okay? Yeah. If they're in that range, Brighton, absolutely get the deal done. Like, it would be a no-brainer. I think it's better than Xhaka. And why I think it's better than Xhaka is when it gets into the final third, which actually he will when he plays in that role, it just allows players like Odegaard, players like Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus to get that kind of right service, right? I think it's very, very clever, very intelligent, and he's working, and he's hard working levels. Are some of the things that I really love about him. He's very, very, very hard working. So McAllister, brilliant. Jude Bellingham, even better. Gabriel Viega is the other player on that list, but my time about my time on this topic is actually running out. So Gabriel Viega is one that has not actually proven very much. He's still in that process and period of transition. So I wouldn't really go for Gabriel Viega. I wouldn't really go for Gabriel Viega. I think for Arsenal, if you're looking to hit those levels, McAllister would be good. Is proven. Jude Bellingham would be good. He's proven as well. Rice would be good. He's proven as well. Okay. So those are the options I would really go for. And maybe the players like Julian Brandt, who's played for Bayer Leverkusen and Borussia Dortmund at a top level, and is also proven as well. Hit the like button for me, subscribe to the podcast as well. This is the Arsenal Total Access Show. It comes to you every single evening, right from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Make sure you're watching it every single day. And of course, the Arsenal Morning Show, the Arsenal Morning Drive will be coming your way every single day from exactly 11 a.m. to noon. Make sure you're also watching that as well. You're hitting that button, you're subscribing, and you're letting me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment box below. Right, let's get to part 3 of the show, where we'll be talking about DECLAN Rice and Youri Tielemans, right? And exactly, in this part, I want us to talk about whether Tielemans still has any chances of signing for Arsenal, and whether you feel Youri Tielemans should be a deal we do for free in the summer, right? Hit the like button. Let's dive into it. So Gary Jacobs, again, sorry, Ben Jacobs, not Gary Jacobs. Gary Jacobs writes for the Times. Ben Jacobs works with CBS. I want to differentiate the two. So it was Ben Jacobs who said that the possibility of Yuri Tielemans signing for Arsenal has actually not gone away. The possibility of Tielemans walking to the Emirates Stadium, signing for Arsenal, has actually not gone away. There is still a lot of hope. There is still a lot of possibilities that Arsenal could eventually do this deal in the summer. Now, what I understand is that Yuri Tielemans has the permission to talk to any club outside the Premier League right now. He can agree a deal with any club outside the Premier League right now. And he has not done it. He's not talked to any other club. Oh, maybe I can't say he's not talked to any other clubs. I think they're talking to other clubs, but there is no deal that has been agreed between Tielemans and any other camp, or with Madrid, or Barcelona, or Juventus, and all those clubs that we know are interested in him. He's not agreed a deal. This poses a big question: could Yuri Tielemans still be one of the priorities for Arsenal in the summer? Now, this is my opinion on Tielemans. This season, you cannot buy a player from Leicester. Like, you can't. If I was to buy a player from Leicester City this season, I think there are around 3 players I would go for. The new signing Tete, Nampalys Mendy, and James Maddison. Okay? Those are the only players I would go and pick out of Leicester. And I would only sign those, I would only sign them if there were no other options. I'm saying this including James Maddison. The levels of this club have actually dropped entirely and massively. And I think if you can, and I'm saying this to any other Premier League team, if you can, right now, stay away from all Leicester City players. Stay away from them. Just stay away from them just for some time. Stay away from them, okay? But Yuri Tielemans has not had a very good season. He's been on and off. There are times when at the beginning of the season, he was very poor. Then before the World Cup, I think around 5 or 6 games prior to the World Cup, he was lead, scoring goals, hitting bangers. He was wearing the captain's armband. He was actually levels, miles, hitting those big numbers that we know that he actually can hit every single season. So the inconsistency of Yuri Tielemans is something that worries me. I like him as a player, but his inconsistency purely, worries me, right? I think Xhaka has been consistent this season. There was time when he hit those crazy form, you remember, scoring every goal. And I said I bet at the beginning of the season that he would score 10 Premier League goals. I was a fool. How did I say that? And I bet $100. If anyone, to anyone, I would give $100 to anyone if he doesn't hit 10 goals this season in the Premier League. How many does he have? He has 2. Come on, Xhaka, you can do this. You can score more goals, okay? But one thing I like about Xhaka more than Yuri Tielemans, Xhaka is a more consistent player. You know what to expect out of him, and in many cases, you actually get what you expect out of him. It is not the same with Yuri Tielemans. Tielemans is massively talented. Tielemans is very good, but the problem with them is he's very, very inconsistent. That is my problem with them. We have a caller from Mohammed. We have a call from Mohammed. I want to get him on the show. Hope I can. You can call in. The link is in that pin chat. You can call in and give your say. Right. It's about time I receive some of your calls. Okay. You can call in and have your say right about now. So Tielemans, the deal is on. It's a free deal. I would love Arsenal to go for it. I would love Arsenal to go and do it. But I think there's so many other options. With the likes of McAllister now available, with the likes of Julian Brandt available, there's so many players I'll take over Yuri Tielemans right now. There's so many players I'll take over him, right now. I think his consistency would cost him a place at Arsenal, okay? But he's still world class in my opinion. Like, if you signed him, he would become that world-class guy. He still can become that world-class guy if you signed him, okay? DECLAN Rice, on the other hand, as we're hearing, has had contacts with Mikel Arteta. He is excited about playing in the UEFA Champions League, and he's also excited about playing for Arsenal. He's asking about Arsenal every single day. He's asking about how it is, at Arsenal. And there is a big possibility that he will dump Chelsea. Listen, there's a big possibility that he doesn't even want to join Chelsea. He doesn't want to hear from what Chelsea are saying because they're far away and miles away from the UEFA Champions League. On this show and on this channel, you guys know how I love Deckers. And I've got a nickname for him, Deckers. I love him so much. And why I love him, apart from the price tag that is over exaggerated, he's a real footballer. He's a real footballer. But I'm asking myself a question. Where would he play? Where would he play? Because it looks like Mikel wants to play him as a central midfielder. That is not something I would want to see. That is not a thing I think Arsenal should be doing, to be honest. That is not something I would want to see. I don't want to see Dick as a central midfielder, box to box, all that kind of thing. I want him in the DM. I want him as a defensive midfielder. That's where I want him. But like I said, I will be reporting on this story whenever we have a development. But what we're hearing is that Mikel Arteta is leading the talks for Deckers to sign Arsenal, and we're beating every other club in the rest right about now. Especially if you don't have UEFA Champions League, this is very clear from the players' entourage. If you don't have UEFA Champions League, he won't be signing for you. Okay, it's as clear as that. If a club doesn't have UCL, if a club doesn't have UEFA Champions League football, DECLAN Rice is not the guy for you. He's not going to be joining you in the summer. That is what we are hearing, okay? So Tielemans and Rice, again, those two. If I had to choose one, I would definitely go for Declan Rice. I think he's a more all-round player. I think he's a more consistent player. And I think he's got the leadership skills that this young Arsenal team would need. John Brown said, is anyone suggesting Scott McTominay? Come on. If there is one player I would never ask Arsenal to sign, that is Scott McTominay. I've never rated him as a player. I've never, let alone as a midfielder, right? As a defensive midfielder. I don't understand what the strongest attributes of McTominay's game are. Does he tackle well? Is he good at transitioning? Is he good at intercepting? I don't think Arsenal would ever sign McTominay. I don't think we would even go near to McTominay. Dennis says he goes with Moises Caicedo. And then Hannington says Jesus is back as he promised. So sinners like Manchester clubs should repent. Clifford says, hi, Cossy, good evening. I need, you need a race. Okay. Hannington says Caicedo is much better. I think with Moises Caicedo, it's more like Thomas Partey. You can only play them in one row, okay? They don't have the versatility that we see with players like Martin Odegaard, with players like Xhaka, with players like Jude Bellingham. You can only play him in one row. If you decide to play him as a defensive midfielder, which he is, that's it. Maybe you could play him as a centre back. Maybe you could play him as a centre back, but you can't play him in across the pitch. Across multiple positions. Nyakoni says, I can go with Declan Rice Pro. This is the Arsenal Total Access Show. It will be live every single day, right from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. to 10 p.m., not 9 a.m., 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. When you're coming from work, you can listen to it in your car. You can also listen to it when you're actually coming, while you have arrived at home, as we keep you with the latest around Arsenal every single evening, right? John says, do you think Kroenke will spend massively in the summer? I don't think he will spend massively because eventually the FFP rules will have to catch up with us, okay? But I think it's one of the summers where UEFA Champions Football gives us some money. When we qualify for UEFA Champions Football, that brings us some money, some very good money. And then we sell some players that will also give us some money. And then I think the Kroenkes will also give us something like 100 million or around 90 million. So overall, I look at Arsenal, we could spend over or around 170 or 200 million in the summer, okay? If that is huge to you, yeah, I think we will spend hugely. But for me, the huge I want is I want Jude Bellingham, DECLAN Rice, and Victor Osimhen. Okay, that is the massive I would want, and I don't think that is really gonna happen, right? I don't think that's gonna happen. It's 3 minutes to the end of the show. You can have your say, call in, talk to me in the comment box below. What would you love us to talk about tomorrow in the morning? That is also a huge topic, by the way. If there is anything you want me to talk about tomorrow in the morning, you can let me know in the comment box below. But of course, catch me 11 a.m. to noon tomorrow in the Arsenal morning drive. John says, bro, Cossy, I don't like Tielemans now. I think Tielemans has just been inconsistent. He's dropped off a little bit, hasn't he? He's dropped off a little bit. And that's why many people would say, oh, I don't like Tielemans right now. But he's just dropped off a little bit. Okay. Eric says, I don't like DECLAN Rice. Caicedo is much better, says Eric Ogoya. Okay. That's brave. That is strong as an opinion. Cossy, where do you stay? I don't know your country. Please tell me. Says Clifford 256 UG. That's my country, Uganda, right? East Africa. Israel says DECLAN Rice is okay. He can deputize Partey. He can deputize Partey. He can also deputize Xhaka. That's one of the things that that's one of the things you've got to know about him. Like, his game is all round. Thank you so much for watching in today. That has been the Total Access Show from me, Cossy, on Cossy's Arsenal podcast. Make sure you catch me tomorrow, same time. Okay, same time. And I'll say this, same time, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. We are discussing every single story happening in the Arsenal world. We'll be talking transfers mainly on this show. But of course, also catch me tomorrow early in the morning at 11 a.m. to noon, to the afternoon, as we talk through the Arsenal morning drive. City says, Cossy, I think since Tielemans is going to be a free agent in the summer, he's got to keep himself against injuries leading to his poor performance. Okay, maybe that could be a reason. And lastly, Hannington says, how is Arteta going to cope up with forward guys because all of them are fit? I mean, we don't have we don't have as many as Jurgen Klopp. Klopp has Firmino, he has Gakpo, he has Luis Diaz, he has Salah, he has Darwin Núñez, and then he also has Diogo Jota. So look, big teams always have those big players in huge numbers. Now, speak to you right in the next one. Tomorrow is the Arsenal morning drive coming your way from 11 a.m. to noon. And then we'll have the Arsenal Total Access Show at exactly 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'll see you right in the next one. Have a blessed evening.